Tsubasa Masao is a game artist who worked for Konami on the Metal Gear series, Zone of the Enders, and then switched to Square Enix to work on games such as Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy XIV. He began his game art career in '96 at the age of 22 with the gaming company acclaimed. Although it's unclear what his exact role was at the beginning of his career. His first projects were Alice in Cyberland on the PlayStation and Quo Vadis 2 on the Sega Saturn. After the company went bankrupt, he joined Konami and worked on the team developing Tokimeki Volume 3, Poems of Departure, and of course the one and only Glint Glitter, a game nobody's ever heard of. And he did some CGI works for Beatmania arcade games. A couple of years later, in 2001, he was assigned to bigger projects such as Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, where he was a facial expression animator. As he worked himself up the ranks, his career took a step up when he was asked to become the original character designer of Anubis 2, aka Zone of the Enders 2, which put his true skills on the map. It is worth noting that the main character designer was Nobuyoshi Nishimura. However, Masao was responsible for the concept work and some of the illustrative works. Although he was not in favor of the initial request, he was instructed to go for an anime look, which will be more in line with the first game as well. That said, his original sketches were clearly good enough, because there were almost no changes to most of the final designs. Clearly proven his skills, in 04, he stepped up a notch as the main character designer of the Metal Gear Acid series. Here he went all out and did the concept art and quite a lot of the illustrative work as well, with even creating some of the character portrait art. Furthermore, he started a MGS Acid character diary, where he shared some of his thoughts on the works. For example, Teteko, the first character he designed, was instructed to be a female Rambo, but he didn't like that idea. Thus, he went for the second instruction, to make her look more like Uma Thurman. Anyways, he wanted the outfits to give an impression of military sneaking suits, and express her with a typical confident heroine attitude. Soon after the Acid series, Square Enix scooped him up, and asked him to be Monster Ball's designer for Final Fantasy IV Heroes of Light, which released in '09. Masao explicitly noted he wanted to push the limits of the Nintendo DS with details, and keep the game's king theme in the designs. It didn't take long when he was asked to do the illustrative character artwork for Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. While this game was a re-release based on the SNES version, and he mainly had the character designer Akihiko Yoshida as his supervisor, Masao's work on this game was phenomenal. He really took the fantasy medieval style to heart, and as a team they set the tone for the game. He illustrated many of the jobs for both males and females. Moreover, he clearly wasn't lazy about it, as he drew them in different postures that fit their class well, showing that he took his work to heart, showing his dedication, which I personally can only admire him for. One thing that really stood out to me in his style is his character proportions. At first, one would say they are realistic, but if you look closer, he has a huge tendency for long legs, which is a common thing he does in all character designs he did so far. Just as a reference, here's an example. Nonetheless, around 13, Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn was on the rise, and he was asked to join a massive art team and contribute his own artistic interpretations. He also continued in this quickly expanding development team to push the game further into patch 3.0, Heavensward. His main role in Final Fantasy XIV was to do job-specific character art and promotional illustrations for events and countdowns. One thing to note, Masao's and Akihiko's works get mixed up a lot, but that's mainly because they work together on quite an array of projects, as one is the art supervisor of the other. I'm fantasy light novel author GPverse, and I found it quite difficult to find information on his works. But then again, almost all Japanese game artists have a very humble lifestyle.